All right, everyone get ready, because today we are going deep, deep into Dark Souls lore.
That's right. We're diving into the story of Dark Souls.
And even if you've never played the games, don't worry. We're going to try to make everything make sense.
Yeah, we're going to break down the complex world and the mythology behind it.
Exactly. And what's really cool is we're going to be using this incredible fan-compiled compendium as our main source.
Yeah, think of it like a Dark Souls encyclopedia. It's got everything you could possibly imagine.
Okay, so we've got ancient history, we've got gods, monsters, cryptic clues.
Oh, yeah, tons of cryptic clues.
I mean, the game is famous for hiding its lore in, like, item descriptions, dialogue, even just the environment.
So get ready for some serious detective work.
Yeah, we're going to have to put on our detective hats for sure.
Absolutely. But we're going to try to give you a solid understanding of what happened in this world and why it matters so much.
Okay, so where do we even begin with a story this massive?
Like all good stories, we got to start at the beginning, right?
Okay, so take us back to the beginning.
Imagine a world shrouded in darkness, ruled by immortal dragons.
Okay, immortal dragons.
Yeah, and then fire is discovered.
Okay, fire is discovered. That sounds like a pretty big deal.
It is. It changes everything.
All right, so what happens?
This discovery leads to the rise of powerful gods like Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, and these gods draw their power from the first flame, a source of immense energy and life.
Okay, so the first flame, that's where the gods get their power.
Exactly. But you see, there's a problem. The everlasting dragons, the original rulers of this world, they see this as a threat.
Right, so we've got this classic power struggle, the old guard versus the new.
Right, and at the center of it all is fire.
Got it. Okay, so how does this power struggle play out?
Well, the gods and the dragons are kind of locked in this stalemate. Neither side can really gain an advantage. But then a dragon named Seath, the Scaleless, changes everything.
Hold on, scaleless dragon. That already sounds a little off.
Yeah, he's an anomaly among dragons.
Okay, in what way?
He's blind, he's scaleless, and he harbors this deep resentment towards his own kind.
Oh, so he's not exactly Mr. Popular amongst the dragons.
No, not at all. And this resentment leads him to do something pretty shocking. Betrayal.
Why, he betrays the dragons.
He sides with Gwyn and the gods and steals the primordial crystal from the dragons.
Wow, so Seath is driven by some pretty powerful emotions here.
Definitely.
But why is this primordial crystal so important?
Well, it's the source of the dragon's immortality.
Okay, so by stealing it, he's basically crippling the dragons.
Exactly. He gives the gods the upper hand in the war.
Wow, that's a pretty pivotal moment.
It is. It marks the beginning of the Age of Fire's dominance.
Okay, so Seath betrays the dragons, the gods win, the Age of Fire begins.
Yeah, but there's another layer to Seath's story that's important.
Okay, what's that?
His story reveals a deeper theme that we see throughout Dark Souls. The seductive nature of power.
Okay, how so?
Seath craves immortality. He desires what the dragons possess, and he's willing to betray his own kind to get it.
That's a good point. It makes you wonder, is anyone in this world really immune to that kind of temptation?
That is the question.
Okay, so the gods win, the dragons are defeated, and the Age of Fire flourishes, right?
Yeah, for time.
For a time. Okay, so what happens? Why only for a time?
Because even the brightest flames eventually flicker and fade.
So the Age of Fire starts to decline.
Like all things.
And darkness starts to creep back in.
Exactly.
Okay, so what happens next? What happens as the Age of Fire starts to fade?
Well, the world faces a pretty chilling prospect as the first flame begins to die out.
Okay, so the first flame is the source of the god's power, right?
Yeah, and without it, who knows what could happen.
So what do they do about it?
Well, the Witch of Izalith, a powerful sorceress, decides to try something incredibly daring to recreate the first flame using her mastery of pyromancy.
Wow, trying to recreate the first flame? That's incredibly ambitious.
It is. It was a desperate gamble.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they're facing the end of their world as they know it.
Right, but unfortunately, the witch's experiment goes horribly wrong.
Oh, no, in what way?
Instead of recreating the first flame, she unleashes this destructive force known as chaos.
Chaos? What's that?
It's a wild, untamable power. It's like the opposite of the first flame's order and life.
Oh, so this is bad.
It's catastrophic. Her once beautiful city of Izalith is transformed into a nightmarish hellscape.
Oh, wow. So it's like her good intentions backfired and created something even worse.
Yeah, you could say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Right. So what are the consequences of this chaotic eruption?
Well, for one, the inhabitants of Izalith are mutated into these grotesque demons.
Oh, wow. So they're transformed into monsters.
driven mad by the chaos that flows through their veins.
That's terrifying. So what happens? Do the gods just stand by and watch this happen?
No, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight himself, takes action.
Okay, what does he do?
He dispatches his most elite warriors, the Silver Knights, to contain the chaos.
Okay, so he sends his best warriors to fight this chaos.
But even these valiant knights are overwhelmed by the sheer force of the chaos.
Oh, wow. So even the best of the best can't stop it.
Many are consumed by the chaos, their armor charred black, forever transformed into the haunting Black Knights.
The Black Knights, yeah, those guys are tough.
Every encounter with them is like a reminder of this tragic battle against chaos.
It's like they were once these noble warriors who fell from grace.
Exactly. And the spread of chaos doesn't stop there. It also gives rise to other terrifying beings.
So chaos is spreading and corrupting the world.
It's like a ripple effect, with the consequences of the witch's actions spreading outward,
Yeah.
warping the very fabric of reality.
So we've got the age of fire fading, chaos erupting, the gods struggling to maintain control. What else could possibly go wrong in this world?
Well, as if the chaos wasn't bad enough, another threat emerges from the darkness.
Another threat, seriously.
Yeah. This one is called the Abyss.
The Abyss, what's that?
It's a realm of pure nothingness and terrifying creatures, and this insidious force begins to spread, corrupting everything it touches.
Hold on, two major threats at once. This world can't catch a break.
I know, right? It's like one thing after another.
So where does this abyss come from?
Well, that takes us to the fallen city of New Lundo.
New Lundo, what's that?
It was a grand metropolis built as a sanctuary for the undead.
A sanctuary for the undead.
Yeah. But ironically, it becomes ground zero for the Abyss's incursion into the world.
Wow, so a city meant to be a safe haven becomes the source of a whole new nightmare.
It's a tragic turn of events.
Okay, so how does this happen? How does the Abyss take over New Lundo?
Well, the four kings who rule New Lundo are seduced by the Abyss's power.
Okay, so they're corrupted by the Abyss.
And they become monstrous beings, and the city is overrun by dark wraiths, these twisted creatures born from the Abyss's darkness.
Dark wraiths, that sounds lovely. So what happens to the city and its people?
Faced with an uncontrollable threat, a heartbreaking decision is made.
What did they do?
The gods choose to flood the entire city, sacrificing its inhabitants to contain the Abyss.
Whoa, they flooded the entire city. That's a heavy decision.
It was a desperate attempt to stop the Abyss from spreading further.
You mentioned the dark wraiths. What exactly are they?
The dark wraiths are beings consumed by the Abyss. They crave humanity.
Humanity.
The very essence of life, and they'll stop at nothing to steal it from others.
So they're like these soul-sucking creatures.
Imagine them like shadows slipping through the cracks of reality, always hungry, always hunting.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about that. So is there anyone who tries to fight back against this abyss?
There is Artorias the Abyss Walker, one of Gwyn's most trusted knights.
Okay, so we've got a hero stepping up to the plate here.
He ventures into the abyss to confront its source.
Wow, so he's going right into the heart of darkness.
Armed with his great shield and his loyal wolf companion, Sif.
He's got a wolf companion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Sif is pretty awesome.
So what happens to Artorias? Does he succeed in stopping the Abyss?
Well, it's a legendary tale, but it's a story tinged with tragedy.
Oh, no. So it doesn't end well for Artorias.
He faces unimaginable horrors within the abyss, and though he fights valiantly, he is ultimately consumed by the darkness he sought to destroy.
So even the greatest heroes can fall to the darkness.
It's a reminder that the fight against darkness is never truly over.
That's pretty bleak, but is there anything redeeming about Artorias' story?
Even in his corrupted state, Artorias shows incredible selflessness.
How so?
He uses the last of his strength to shield his wolf companion Sif from the abyss's taint, sacrificing himself to protect his friend.
Oh, wow. So he saves Sif, but at the cost of his own soul.
It's a testament to their bond, even in the face of such overwhelming darkness.
So what happens to Sif after Artorias falls?
We encounter Sif in the present day, guarding the grave of his fallen master.
Wow, that's a powerful image, and a reminder that even in this dark world, there's still loyalty, there's still love.
It's a glimmer of light amidst the encroaching darkness.
So Artorias' story is a reminder that the fight against darkness is never easy, and even the strongest wills can be broken.
It's a cautionary tale, but also a testament to the power of sacrifice and the enduring bonds of friendship.
Those are some pretty deep themes, and we've only just scratched the surface of Dark Souls lore.
We've only just begun to delve into the mysteries of this world.
I'm already feeling like I need a break to process all this.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
But we'll be back soon to dive even deeper into the world of Dark Souls.
And we'll explore the choices that await the player in this dark and an unforgiving world.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dark Souls lore.
Oh man, my mind is still reeling from that last segment. Artorias' story is just so heavy. It really makes you wonder if there's even any hope in this world.
Yeah, that's a question a lot of players grapple with, for sure. I mean, the world of Dark Souls is undeniably bleak, but it's not entirely devoid of hope.
Yeah, that's true. There are definitely moments of heroism and sacrifice that kind of shine through the darkness.
Right. And even amidst all that despair, there are still choices to be made, moments where you can choose to make a difference.
And speaking of choices, we haven't even touched upon the whole linking the first flame thing. Isn't that supposed to be like the main goal of the player character?
It's definitely presented as a primary objective.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the chosen undead. The player is tasked with linking the first flame, just like Gwyn did 1,000 years ago.
Right, so you're basically following in the footsteps of a legendary god trying to prolong the Age of Fire. It seems like the heroic thing to do, right? The obvious choice.
At first glance, yeah, it definitely seems like the right thing to do, but knowing what we know now about the cyclical nature of the Age of Fire, the spread of chaos, the abyss, it all makes you wonder, is linking the fire really the best solution?
Yeah, is it really worth sacrificing yourself to perpetuate a system that seems destined to repeat its mistakes?
Right. Are you just delaying the inevitable?
Okay, so my mind is officially blown now. So if linking the fire isn't the only option, what else can the player do?
Well, there's another path, a path whispered by a different primordial serpent, Darkstalker Kathy.
Darkstalker Kethy. Okay, so we've got another serpent in the mix now, and what does he want?
He urges the player to reject the call to link the fire and instead usher in a new age of dark.
A new age of darkness.
Whoa!
Whoa, that sounds a bit ominous. So what does that even mean? Is it as bad as it sounds?
That's the thing. The game doesn't give you a clear-cut answer.
Yeah.
It's totally open to interpretation.
So it's up to the player to decide what the Age of Dark really represents.
Exactly. Some believe it means a world plunged into chaos and despair where humanity is left to fend for itself without the guidance of the gods.
Okay, I can see how that would be a pretty bleak outcome.
But others see it as a chance for a fresh start, a world where humanity can forge its own destiny free from the cycles of fire and light.
Oh, okay, so it could be a positive thing, a chance for humanity to break free from these predetermined cycles.
Right, it's all about how you interpret it.
Wow, that's a lot to consider. So how is a player supposed to decide which path to take?
That's the brilliance of Dark Souls. It's not about following a predetermined path. It's about making a choice based on your own understanding of the world, your own values, and your own interpretation of what's best for humanity.
Okay, so it's not just about winning or losing. It's about grappling with these complex philosophical questions and making a choice that feels meaningful to you.
You got it. And your choices aren't just limited to the ending. Throughout the game, you'll encounter various covenants.
Covenants. Oh yeah, I remember those. They always seemed kind of mysterious.
They are. They're like these secret societies with their own unique goals and rewards.
So joining a covenant can actually change the way you experience the game.
Absolutely. It can affect your gameplay, your interactions with other characters, even your understanding of the lore.
Okay, so what kind of covenants are there?
Well, you've got some that seem pretty straightforward at first, like the Way of White.
The Way of White, what's that all about?
They're all about upholding the Age of Fire, fighting against the forces of darkness.
So they're like the good guys.
Well, it's not that simple. They can be pretty ruthless in their methods.
Oh, really? How so?
They often ostracize and even eliminate those they deem unfit or a threat to their order.
Whoa, so even those who claim to fight for the light can be capable of some pretty dark deeds.
It highlights the moral ambiguities of Dark Souls. There's no easy division between good and evil.
Yeah, everything exists in shades of gray.
Exactly.
So what other covenants are there?
You've got the Warrior of Sunlight Covenant. They're all about spreading joy and helping others.
Oh yeah, Solaire's Covenant, right? They're like the super cheerful, optimistic bunch.
Yeah, guided by the belief that if only I could be so grossly incandescent.
That's such a Solaire thing to say. It always makes me smile.
It's a testament to their unwavering optimism, even in the face of overwhelming darkness.
It's inspiring to see that kind of hope in a world like this.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always something worth fighting for, something worth believing in.
Okay, so we've got the Way of White, the Warriors of Sunlight. What else is not?
And then you have covenants that are a bit more morally ambiguous, like the Dark Wraiths.
The Dark Wraiths, oh boy, those guys sound a little sketchy.
They embrace the power of the abyss and prey on the weak.
So they're basically the bad guys.
You could say that they're definitely not afraid to get their hands dirty.
Okay, and what about other covenants?
Oh, there are the Great Lord Servants. They spread the curse of undeath throughout the land.
Oh, wow. They're not messing around.
Not at all. Each covenant offers a different way to interact with the world and a different perspective on the ongoing struggle between light and dark.
So it's like each covenant has its own philosophy, its own way of seeing the world.
Exactly. They add another layer of depth to the gameplay and the lore, challenging your assumptions and forcing you to make choices that align with your own moral compass.
So we've got the choice of linking the fire or ushering in the Age of Dark, and then we've got all these different covenants with their own unique philosophies and goals. It's like the game is constantly asking you, what do you believe in? What are you willing to fight for?
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about the big choices, it's also about the smaller ones. The interactions you have with other characters, the way you choose to approach each encounter. Every decision you make shapes your journey and ultimately determines the kind of legacy you leave behind.
It's like every action has a consequence. Those consequences ripple outwards, affecting the world and those around you.
Exactly, and that's what makes Dark Souls so compelling.
Hmm.
It's not just a game about killing monsters and collecting loot. It's a game that challenges you to think critically, to make tough choices, and to confront the darkness both within yourself and the world around you.
Wow, all this talk about choices and consequences is really making me rethink my whole approach to the game. Like, there's this whole other layer of meaning I never even considered before. But speaking of hidden depths, I remember there were some pretty intriguing theories surrounding certain characters and events, like what's the deal with Gwendolyn? He always seemed kind of shady to me.
Gwendolyn is definitely a complex character, shrouded in mystery and illusion, as we mentioned before. He maintains the facade of sunlight in Anor Londo, perpetuating the image of his father Gwyn and the Age of Fire.
Right, so on the surface, he seems like he's just trying to honor his father's legacy.
But his motives are far from clear.
Yeah, there's definitely something about him that feels off, like he's hiding something.
There are definitely hints that Gwendolyn might be more than just a dutiful son.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one, he leads the Dark Moon Blades Covenant, which is dedicated to hunting down those who sin against the gods.
Oh, wow. So he's like the enforcer of the god's will.
And he even uses his sister, Guinevere's image, as a figurehead for the Princess Guard Covenant.
Wait, he's using his sister's image? That's pretty messed up. It makes you wonder, what are his true intentions? Is he really just trying to protect his father's legacy, or is there something more sinister at play?
That's one of the great debates surrounding Gwendolyn.
So you've got this character who's shrouded in mystery and seems to be operating with his own agenda.
Some believe he's a tragic figure trapped by duty and forced to uphold a system he doesn't fully believe in.
Okay, so he's just playing the role he's been given.
Others see him as a cunning manipulator, pulling strings from the shadows to further his own mysterious agenda.
Wow, those are some pretty wild theories. It's like Gwendolyn is this enigma wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in... Oh, well, you get the idea.
It's amazing how Dark Souls can pack so much depth into its characters, even those we only encounter briefly.
Absolutely. It's like every character has a story to tell, even if it's not explicitly laid out for you.
Exactly.
Are there any other characters whose stories are shrouded in mystery?
Definitely one of the most intriguing characters, and one whose origins spark endless debate, is Manny's Father of the Abyss.
Manus, Father of the Abyss. Okay, that name already sounds pretty intimidating.
He's this primal, almost monstrous figure whose unearthed grave unleashes the abyss upon the world.
So he's the source of all this chaos and darkness?
In a way, yeah, but there's a fascinating theory that connects him to the furtive pygmy.
The furtive pig. Wait, didn't we talk about him way back in the beginning? He was the one who found the Dark Soul, right?
Exactly, and the theory suggests that Manus is actually the furtive pygmy transformed by the power of the Dark Soul into this terrifying abyss-corrupted being.
Whoa, that's a pretty wild theory. So the furtive pygmy became Manus.
It's definitely a popular theory among fans.
Is there any evidence to support it?
Well, there's no concrete proof within the game itself, but there are some interesting clues and connections that make this theory particularly compelling.
Like what?
Well, both Manus and the pygmy are associated with the abyss and the Dark Soul, and Manus is often described as a primeval human, hinting at a connection to the earliest days of humanity.
Oh, okay, so there are definitely some parallels there. And didn't Manus have this thing with a pendant?
Ah, yes, the pendant, it's described as a symbol of his broken humanity, a reminder of what he once was before becoming consumed by the abyss.
So it's like a symbol of his lost innocence.
Some believe that the pendant represents the fragmented dark soul, the source of humanity's power and its potential for darkness.
Okay, now that's just mind-blowing. It's like all these seemingly disparate pieces of lore are suddenly coming together, forming a much larger and more complex picture. It makes you wonder, is there anything in Dark Souls that's just a coincidence?
That's part of the beauty of the game. Every detail, every character, every item description, it all seems to connect to something bigger. A grand tapestry woven from myth, legend, and philosophical ideas.
So we're talking about choices that shape the fate of the world, covenants with their own unique philosophies and characters whose stories are shrouded in mystery and ambiguity. It seems like every corner of this world is filled with meaning and depth.
That's exactly right, and we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? I'm already eager to dive into the next part of our deep dive, but for now, I think we need to let all this information sink in and maybe grab a drink or two, because seriously, this stuff is heavy. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Dark Souls lore, and honestly, my brain is fried. Like, there's just so much to unpack. It's amazing.
I know, right? It really is like an onion. You peel back one layer and there's another one underneath. It's incredible.
Yeah, and even after spending all this time talking about it, there are still so many mysteries that we haven't even touched upon.
Absolutely. And some of those mysteries revolve around specific characters, like Priscilla the Crossbreed.
Oh, yeah, Priscilla, she's a fascinating one. We find her tucked away in the painted world of Ariamis, which is like this whole other realm detached from the rest of Lordran.
Exactly. It's like she's caught between worlds, literally and figuratively.
Right, and her very existence kind of speaks to these themes of isolation and otherness that we see throughout Dark Souls.
That's a great point. She's half dragon.
Bro.
She's banished to this painted world. It's all very melancholy.
And the painted world itself is such a cool concept. It's like this realm of dreams and illusions, but also sorrow and isolation.
It's like a beautiful cage in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And Priscilla, with her unsettling beauty and that life hunt scythe, she really embodies that duality.
It makes you wonder, what's her story? Is she a guardian of the painted world protecting those within? Or is she a prisoner herself longing for a connection she can never truly have?
Right. The game doesn't give us a straight answer, does it?
No, it's all up to interpretation.
And that's part of what makes Priscilla so compelling. She forces us to confront our own assumptions about good and evil, beauty and monstrosity.
Yeah. Is she a threat or is she simply misunderstood?
The answer, like so much in Dark Souls, is left for the player to decide.
It's like the game is constantly challenging us to look beyond the surface and consider different perspectives.
Exactly, and this theme of empathy and understanding is also present in the story of Artorias the Abyss Walker.
Oh yeah, Artorias, we talked about him before, but his story is so important, it's worth revisiting.
Absolutely. His legend precedes him, tales of his courage and his valiant fight against the Abyss. But then we journey back in time through the Ulasil DLC, and we see a different side to him.
We see him consumed by the very darkness he was trying to fight.
It's almost like a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the strongest can be broken.
Yeah, it really makes you question the nature of heroism and sacrifice. Was Artorias' attempt to confront the Abyss foolish, or was it a necessary act of defiance?
And the symbolism of his broken greatsword and his failing shield, it's like we're witnessing the physical manifestation of his broken spirit.
Such a powerful image, but even in his corrupted state, Artorias shows incredible selflessness.
Sacrificing himself to protect Sif from the Abyss's taint.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, love and loyalty can endure.
And it speaks to a larger theme in Dark Souls. The interconnectedness of all things Artorias' actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond his own time.
Right. His sacrifice leads to our encounter with Sif guarding Artorias' grave. It's a beautiful moment.
And if we look back at the events that led to the creation of the Abyss, we see this theme of interconnectedness playing out once again.
Okay, how so?
Well, remember, the Abyss was unleashed when the inhabitants of Ulasil unearthed the grave of Manus.
Right, but why would they do such a thing?
It seems foolish, right? But if we look at the bigger picture, we see that they were influenced by a primordial serpent, the same type of creature as Frampt and Kive.
Wait, are you saying that the serpents manipulated the people of Ulasil into unleashing the Abyss?
It's definitely a possibility. We know that the serpents have their own agenda. They're ancient beings with mysterious motives.
So they might be playing a long game, orchestrating events from the shadows.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about the world.
It really does. It adds a whole new layer of complexity to the lore.
And it speaks to the cyclical nature of history in Dark Souls, just as the Age of Fire was born from the ashes of the Age of Ancients. Perhaps the serpents are seeking to usher in a new age, one that aligns with their own ancient desires.
Okay, so we've got choices with consequences, events that are interconnected across time, and ancient beings potentially manipulating things behind the scenes. It's incredible how deep this lore goes.
And that's what makes Dark Souls so rewarding. It's a game that invites you to think for yourself, to piece together the fragments of its story and come up with your own interpretation.
There's no one right answer, which means there's always more to discuss and debate.
Exactly. And if you're looking to dive even deeper into the lore, there are some amazing resources out there created by the Dark Souls community.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Dark Souls community is incredible. They're so passionate about this world.
Definitely things like ENB's lore videos on YouTube and the Dark Souls wiki are great places to start.
It's a testament to the power of storytelling that a game can inspire such a dedicated and passionate community.
So as you venture forth into the world of Lordran, remember, pay attention to the details, question everything, and don't be afraid to embrace the darkness.
That's right, because within the shadows lie the greatest secrets, and who knows, maybe you'll even uncover something new, something that we haven't even talked about.
The possibilities are endless.
Keep those torches lit and praise the sun.